Hello everyone, my name is Simran and I am going to teach you science. Students, in the last class we have completed the chapter number 3, that is fibers to fabrics, and today we are starting a new chapter of your syllabus, chapter number 4, that is sorting material into groups. It is very clear from its name that in this chapter you are given the materials and you have to sort them into groups, different groups. Alright students, so when I am talking about materials, okay, materials are of so many types. Okay students, in the chapter number 1 and 2 we have discussed about food items, ingredients, right? And we have also noticed that there are so much variety in the food that we eat. Okay students, and in the third chapter we have discussed about the clothing. There are so many clothes, if I am talking about fabrics, colors and so many things. Okay, then students, these clothes and food items, ingredients, color, fabrics, these all are the parts of materials, right? These particular things are the part or the different things in the materials. Okay, different groups in the materials. Okay, so you can imagine that if they have a lot variety, then how much variety will materials be having? Alright students, so materials are of so many kinds, we can't count them, we can't name them, we can't exactly tell how many types of materials are there. Alright students, so materials are of a lot of types, and for our convenience we characterize the materials into different groups to study them, to make them useful, okay, and to discover different new things. Alright students, in this picture you are given the different materials, okay. For example, this doll, this lock, this key, this DVD, this mobile, this particular screw, these are the 2 screws, toothbrush, pencil, geometry box, toy, cards. Alright students, what is this? This is the hard disk drive, like pin holder, paperweight, glass, screwdriver. There are so many things, there are so many materials if I am talking about. Okay, so when students, we have a large amount of materials in the society, in the world, so we need to characterize them into different groups, so that it can be easy for us to study them, it can be easy for us to explain their properties. Alright students, for example, I am your teacher, I am sitting in the class, your class. Alright students, I am telling you, students, tell me the name of the materials that are present in the classroom. You will name me geometry box, text, okay, desk, table, chairs, stools, blackboard, chalk, duster, notebook, paper, okay, and also pencil, pen, compass, eraser, sharpener and so many things, walls, paint, fan, tube lights. Alright, so many things are there, so many materials are there, okay. But when I specify it and tell you, no student, I don't want all the materials name, I want you to tell me the names of the materials that are made up of paper. Then you will tell me, ma'am, we have a notebook, ma'am, we have a textbook. So these particular 2 materials are made up of paper. Alright students, so this was all about the materials, and we characterize them, we sort them into different groups for its purposefulness, for its usefulness and for our convenience. Alright students, we also know that any particular object is made up of 1 or more materials. Okay, any object can be made from 1 material or it can be made up from many materials, like 1 or more materials. Alright students, so any material can be of wood, paper, soil, glass or any particular thing. Alright students, so all the objects around us are made up of 1 or more materials. These materials can be glass, metal, plastics, wood, cotton, paper, mud or soil, etc. That means that these particular objects can be made from different materials like paper, wood, glass, soil and so many things like that. Alright students, so this was all about objects and materials. Materials make objects and objects are made up of materials. Alright students, so just have a look at the chart. This is saying the object. Okay, these are the 2 objects, number 1 object, number 2 object. Alright students, and in this particular thing you are given the material they are made up of. You have to tell this is the object and tell me what are the materials this was. That means the plate is made up of. A plain plate can be made up from plastic, it can be made from steel, it can be made from glass. Alright students. And second, pen. A pen can be made from the metal and a pen can be made from the plastics. Alright students. So this was all about objects and the materials they are made up of. Alright students. In the next chart, it is just the opposite. Here are the materials and these are the objects that are made from these materials. Okay. For example, number 1, wood. Wood can be used to make what kind of objects? Table, chair, cupboard, plow, bullock cart, wheels, etc. Alright students. So wood can be used for making chair, table, plow, bullock cart and its wheels. Alright students. The second thing, paper. A paper can be used to make books, notebooks, newspaper, toys and calendars. Alright students. So this is clear now that objects are made from materials and materials make objects. Alright students. But for making any particular object, you need to think in your mind what is the purpose for that particular object. Okay. And for making that particular object, you need to find the properties of the material. So now we will discuss about the properties of the materials. In this picture students, it is clear that she is a girl, alright, and she wants to make a tumbler. Tumbler is used to store the water, and just look at the material she is using for making a tumbler. She is using a cloth. Is this justified? Can cloth is used for making a tumbler? Can cloth just hold the water with itself? No. A cloth can't be used for making a tumbler because it has no capacity to store the water, to hold the water. It can't stop the flow of water. Alright students. So when you are making any object, just think in your mind whether the property of material suits with the purpose of the object. Okay. The property of the material should suit the purpose for making any object. Alright students. So we choose a material to make an object depending upon the properties and the purpose for which the object is to be used. This is what I have explained, right? If you have a purpose of making any object, then you should make the material used for making that particular object based upon the purpose of making the object. Okay. And if the material's property and the purpose of object are the same, and if they both suit each other, right, then only the material can be used for making that particular object. Okay. So this was all about the properties of material. So now we will discuss different properties one by one. Firstly, we will discuss about the appearance. Appearance means what the things look like. Okay. Like for example, materials usually look different from each other. There is a huge world and everything is different from each other, right? For example, wood is very different from iron. Iron is very different from copper. Copper is very different from aluminium. Aluminium very different from tin, and so many things like that. But still, iron, copper, aluminium, tin, they all have some sort of similarities. That similarities doesn't match with the case of wood. Okay. So wood looks very different from iron. Iron appears different from copper or aluminium. At the same time, there may be some similarities between iron, copper, aluminium that are not there in the wood. Why this is so? They are different, but still there is some sort of similarity. The similarities that they both are having with each other is due to the property, is due to the groups of that particular objects or materials. Alright, because they all are metals. Okay, and wood is not a metal, that is why wood is different from these two. Okay. So according to appearance, we also characterize the material into different groups. Okay. So if I am telling you students, I am telling you to just make the groups of different type of materials that appear white to you, that appear yellow to you. You will sort that up, right? So based upon the appearance, you can also make the groups of different materials. Okay students. So let's discuss about the next property, that is luster. What is luster? Students, luster is the property of the materials, that is the shining surface. Like if you have a metal surface and it is shining from its topmost surface, then it is having luster on its surface. Alright students, just take the case of a gold ring. You have purchased a new gold ring. You just see on that particular surface, it is so shiny. The shine on the gold surface like this is called the luster of the gold or any kind of metal. Usually metals have the luster on their surface, okay, and with the action of moisture and air on that particular surface, the luster get faded up. For example, if I have the iron railings on my home, the new iron railings, okay, they look so shining, but after some time with the action of moisture and air, they fades up, right? They don't have shine anymore. So luster can be faded up, okay. And what is luster? The shine on any metal surface, okay. So luster is the shine on the surface of any material is called luster. Usually metals, iron, copper, gold, aluminium, silver have luster. Alright students. So luster can be faded up by the action of air and moisture on the surface. Alright student. So this is all about luster. So now we will discuss the next property students. What is the next property? That is the hardness or the softness. Hardness and softness. Suppose students, if I have a ball in my hand, okay, the sponge ball. That sponge ball I can compress, I can stretch. The objects that I can stretch and compress are the soft objects, and there are some objects that can't be stretched, that can't be compressed are called hard objects. Alright students. So materials which can be compressed or stretched easily are called soft, while some other materials which are difficult to compress are called hard. Alright students. So for example, if I am taking an iron nail, okay, an iron nail can't be compressed, it can't be stretched further. So that iron nail is the hard object, whereas if I am taking the cotton ball in my hand, it can be compressed and it can be like stretched. So it is soft object. Alright. For example, cotton and sponge are soft while iron is hard. These are also the two examples. This is soft, the cotton, and the iron railings, that these are hard, okay. So based upon the property of hardness and softness of any object or the materials, we can also characterize different materials into different groups. Alright students. So just discuss the next property, that is solubility and insolubility. What is solubility and insolubility students? When you have a glass of water and when you are mixing a particular substance in it and it get dissolved up, then it means that it is soluble substance. If you add a substance which is not at all dissolving in water, then it means that it is insoluble substance. Alright students. So the substances that get dissolved in water are called soluble substances, and the substances that do not get dissolved in water are insoluble substances, okay. For example, salt. If you are putting a spoon of salt in the water, stir it well, it completely get dissolved, okay. So it means that it is soluble in water. Similarly, if you are taking the small pebbles spoon and just put it in the water, just stir well, what will you see? It will not get disappeared in the water. So it means that it is insoluble in water, okay. So let's see the examples. Here is a chart. In this you have to mention the substance that do not get dissolved or that get disappeared in water, disappears in water or doesn't disappear, okay. So first, I have told you this thing before, salt is completely soluble, so it completely disappears in water, okay. So salt disappears completely in water, okay. So next, sugar. Sugar is also insoluble. Sugar is also a soluble substance, so it will also disappear in water completely, okay. Disappear completely. Next students, what is about sand? Sand is insoluble substance, it will not get dissolved in water, so it will not disappear. So it does not disappear. Alright students, so sand will not get disappear. Okay. Next is chalk powder. Chalk powder is also an insoluble substance, so it will not disappear. Okay. So it will not disappear. So it doesn't disappear. Okay students, so last one, sawdust. Okay, sawdust is also an insoluble substance, it will not get dissolved in water, so it will also not disappear. So this is not disappearing. These are the cases of solids. Okay, solid substances. These are the cases of solid substances students. So there are some liquid substances that gets dissolved in the water or mixes well in the water, and there are liquids that do not get dissolved in the water or do not mix in the water. So let's discuss them. First one is vinegar. Vinegar is a liquid that mixes well in the water because vinegar is completely dissolved in water, it is soluble in water. Alright students. Similarly, lemon juice. Lemon juice is completely dissolving in water because it is soluble in water. Okay, so it is also mixing well. Okay, next is mustard oil. We know that oil are not at all soluble in water, so it will not mix. Okay, so it doesn't mix. Okay students, next is coconut oil. This is also oil. Okay, so it also doesn't mix well. Next is kerosene. What about kerosene? Kerosene is also an insoluble substance which will not get dissolved in water, so it will not mix well. Okay, so it is also not mixing well. So students, we have some liquids that mix well with water while some others do not. Okay, like this is the example in which oil is floating. Okay, and this is the water. Okay, like for example in this case you have some kind of Neil in the water that you use for your washing of clothes. It is particularly mixed well, it has mixed well, right? So this is soluble and this is insoluble. Alright students, so let's see about the next property, that is floating and sinking property. Students, if you have a water bucket and you are putting some kind of objects in it, the objects that are on the top of the water layer, those are called floating objects, and the objects that are at the bottom of the water bucket, that are called sinking objects. Okay, so the objects that are on the top of the water are called floating objects. Okay, they are said to be floating. Okay, and the objects that are at the bottom of the water layer, they are supposed to be sinking. Okay, that sink and they float. Okay, for example, the floating substances are of dry leaves. Okay, also wooden piece, also the fresh vegetables and fruits. Okay, and the sinking objects are coins, pebbles, stones, keys, iron or metal objects. Alright students, so the objects can also be classified or sorted with the help of the property that is floating and sinking. Okay, so students, now we will discuss the last property of the chapter that we were discussing, that is transparency. Students, transparency is the property of looking at other objects. Okay, so based upon the property of transparencies, we are characterizing the objects into three parts. Okay, transparent objects, translucent objects or opaque objects. Okay, transparent objects, translucent objects and opaque objects. Okay, for example, this is the picture of three boys. Okay, this one, he is handling any opaque object. Okay students, I'll just explain it. This is transparent object and the third one, this is translucent. Alright students, just have a look. From this particular picture you are able to see the face of the kid, right? So that means the objects through which we can see the other objects clearly are called transparent objects. Okay, the objects from which we can see the next objects or the other objects clearly are called transparent objects. As you can clearly see the face of the kid, right? Okay, you are able to see the face of the kid. So this object is transparent object. Alright students, next, translucent objects. From this particular translucent object you can just imagine that this is the face of the kid, but you can't see clearly. Okay, you can see the objects but not clearly. Those objects are called translucent objects. Okay, in translucent objects you can see the objects but not clearly. Okay, last one, that is opaque objects. In this object, are you able to see the face of the kid from this particular screen? No. So this object, the screen, from which you are not at all able to see the next objects, to see the other objects, this screen is called opaque object. Okay, so we'll discuss it further. What are transparent objects? The objects through which other objects can be seen clearly are called transparent objects. For example, you can clearly see yourself from glass, you can see clearly yourself in the water and air. Okay, so these are the transparent objects because in these particular objects you are able to see the other objects clearly. Okay, we are in the presence of air, that is why we are able to see the other person clearly. Okay, so air is a transparent medium. Okay students, so next, translucent objects through which other objects can be seen but not clearly, like butter paper. Suppose students, I have a butter paper in my hand, I am putting it like this. I am able to see the other objects or the other people but not that clearly because I am holding a butter paper that is a translucent object whose property is that it can allow the other substances to be seen but not clearly. Okay, so this is what translucent mean. Okay, last one we are going to discuss is opaque objects. The objects through which other objects can't be seen at all are called wood or iron. So this is the example of a wood, right? Suppose students, if I have this wooden piece in my hand, I'm holding it like this, I am able to see the other objects not at all because I have a wooden paper or the wooden object in my hand, and from that particular object I am not at all able to see the rest of the objects because it is opaque. I can't see the other objects from it. Okay, so objects through which other objects can't be seen at all are called opaque objects. Alright students, so today we have discussed about different properties of materials on the basis of what we can sort them. Okay, we can sort the different materials based upon these properties. Properties like hardness, softness, solubility, insolubility and floating, sinking, transparency, luster and appearance. Okay, so students, this was all about the concept of chapter number 4. I hope you will study at your home. Okay, we'll discuss the exercise, that is a question answer and fill up part, in the next class. Till then, have a nice day. Do study at your home. Bye bye.